Welcome to Shero Live, hosted by Beth Shero, CEO and co-founder of Shero Commerce. Joined by special guests, Cande of Shero Commerce and Molly Fish-Tin, co-founder of SoMe.
And we are live in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome everybody to the Shero Live. I'm Beth Shero, the CEO and co-founder of Shero Commerce. Welcome. Today we have a very exciting topic. We're talking about how AI is influencing and changing how people shop. We have two great speakers to chime in on the topics. And our goal here is really to help you understand the reality of what's changing, how you can be proactive to make changes that can help your brand improve in these areas, and just have a gauge on like the reality of where things are at. I know there's a lot of buzz around AI and how much people are actually using it, but we want to get really practical today and talk about real things that you can do to get ahead of the curve and just kind of understand where you are compared to other people maybe. So it's a great topic, and we're ready to get going here. So I'm going to invite Cande in first. She's been on here before, but I'd love for her to introduce herself for anybody that's new to the group. And then we'll bring in Molly because she has a great story. She's going to tell us about her experience that connects well to this topic. Welcome, Cande. How are you doing today?
Hi, Beth. Happy Thursday. How are you doing?
Good, good. So for everybody that's new to our show, please introduce yourself and let them know what you do at Shero and your expertise.
Yeah, I'm the executive director of marketing at Shero. I've been with Shero for almost 2 years. We have grown a lot of our marketing clients in the past 2 years. And yeah, everybody's asking about AI. When can we launch our ChatGPT ads? What's happening? What's the latest trend, etc. So yeah, 2026 is the year. I think that AI is really going to make a lot of strides in the e-commerce world. So yeah, really looking forward to this chat. Really looking forward to Molly's point of view. She has a lot of experience in this topic. And yeah, just looking forward for this chat.
Amazing. Yeah. And I think you've nailed it on the head. You know, for years now, we've been talking about AI, but I think this year it's like really happening, right? So
Yes.
if you are doing stuff, you need to do it. It's
yeah, and there's so many things to do, right? So yeah, what comes first is the big question.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking about that today. Awesome.
Yes.
Let's welcome Molly. Hey, Molly.
Hello, everyone. Hi. I'm really, really pleased to be joining this chat today and to share some insights with you into what we're doing and how you can evolve in the AI landscape. So just some background into who I am. I am Molly, co-founder of SoMe. A little bit of story about SoMe. SoMe is essentially a consumer shopping app, and I had a conversation with my co-founder about a year ago. And we said, why is online shopping just so chaotic and awful from a shopper perspective? And we had, it's like, so we had an event coming up and we were looking for a black tie dress. And we were so fed up of scrolling through Google, then getting to the retailer's sites, and then scrolling through all of the different options, having to filter down. What we wanted to do was to simply say, I have this event coming up. I'm looking for something suitable for a black tie. I'm a size 12. I typically like to wear black. Can you find me some options? Thought that could be quite simple to do. Wrong.
Oops.
Very wrong. So as soon as we started pulling in all of the brand data, so the likes of M&S, Debenhams, Ego, Lavish Alice, we realized the reason that this is going to be such a big challenge because product data just isn't ready for natural language search. And we figured that out the hard way. So there was a lot of work that we had to do behind the scenes to standardize this data, enhance this data, enable products to be matched to the right searches. So doing that, we were able to realize then that there's a huge opportunity. And then ChatGPT, the likes of Daydream as well, started offering AI shopping. And then we realized products are not ready for that, and we can help retailers to do that. So I'm here to share some of those insights on what I've learned the messy way. And hopefully it won't be so messy for you.
Yeah, and thank you for the intro, Molly, and welcome. Molly and I connected on LinkedIn, and I was intrigued by a lot of things she was saying, and I thought she would have so much to add to this conversation. And then when I got on the phone with her and she was telling me the whole story, I was like, oh, wow. Like, she's definitely learned the hard way for sure. But when you learn things the hard way, it means that they're very practical and real. And, you learn the most from those challenges, right? So we're excited to have her share those insights for retailers and brands around the world. Awesome. So we have a good agenda today that we're going to talk about. Molly really kind of nailed it about like the data. So we're going to start by kind of talking about like the structure of what shifted and changed and like the behaviors of how AI is influencing how people shop. And then to Molly's point about the data, like her struggle with understanding that data that brands have isn't ready for that conversational AI experience. So that's why we're seeing some more things that are like generic. And then obviously all of this at the end of the day affects your margin and how much you have to invest in paid media and how do you get found on ChatGPT or Gemini. It's like all these questions start festering, let's sort of say, and like the world is evolving so quickly. We just thought this would be important to talk through. Some of these concepts are probably known to most of you, but just to kind of name it, I think helps give it space and like understanding, and then just talk about how you can win through these changes. So we have a couple of slides we can bring up to get us started. And I just kind of went over the agenda of our focus today. And Molly and Cande are going to kind of chime in here and have specific things they're going to talk about as well. So again, the structure, the shift, we're all feeling it, maybe some more than others, right? And seeing in our analytics, people are coming from different sources and they have before, different channels. Like, how do we get ahead of it? Why does this matter? So again, Molly's story connects so well to this. She was trying to really solve a problem, but like in general, when we think about how we want to grow our online brand, we're, traditionally thinking about like, how do we drive clicks to my website, right? And now it's more of how do I get noticed on that short list of what AI is going to recommend,
Right.
and stand out there and just be recognized. It's like a short list, right? And how does the data impact that? Sorry, were one of you going to chime in there?
No, I was just gonna say, and Molly, I would love to hear your thoughts. Right, I talk to clients all the time, specifically DTC. They all want to show up, etc. They just don't know where to start. Right, like not everybody has the knowledge. So in your experience and based on your learnings, what would be that first thing like that you would say, right? Because to your point, I feel like chicken and egg kind of, but like it starts with the data, right? So can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because I think that any small, medium business that is really has to make a decision on like where do they implement their resources, etc. It's kind of like the question that I get all the time is like, where do I start? What do I do? So I would like to hear your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. And, it's a tricky time because AI shopping hasn't fully taken over yet.
Correct.
Yeah.
But everybody wants to play the game,
Exactly. You still have to think about your other channels and you can't ignore them. So yes, you should be doing your search optimization and you should be doing your paid ads, but you need to start thinking about AI optimization as well and how you can get your products shown. Now, how I like to think of it is when we're focusing on SEO and PPC, it's very much what can you do to be found? Mm-hmm. Everything is based around that, isn't it? What can I do to improve my rankings in Google? How much can I spend on a click to get more traffic? When really in AI, now how that is shifting is to how can I make sure my product is understood? So it's not that it's found, it's that how can we make it understandable? How can I understand that that linen dress is suitable for a wedding in the summer? Now, it's quite easy for a human to do that, right? We can look at the dress and we can decode that information.
Right.
But then it takes us all of that time to scroll through physically and do it ourselves. What we have to do for AI agents is make it as easy as possible for them to identify what that product is, who it's suitable for, and why they should recommend it.
Right.
Yeah.
So from a product data perspective, that can come down to your PDP, it can come down to your collection pages and the type of content that you've got on there. So essentially we need to move away from the things that we naturally filter. We can't just focus on material, color, length.
Right, the generics, right? Like it's not more about the generics, it's being like way more specific.
Exactly, yeah. As niche as you can go, essentially, on that product. Give all of the information you can.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And about that, like everybody kind of like says like is like the era of SEO 2.0, right? Like so bringing all of that back. But like what would be your advice to people that have like limited resources and not the budget to kind of like bring those content or SEO resources in-house? Do you have any tricks in terms of that?
Magic wand.
So as I said, like I learned the hard way with product data. I physically had to go into hundreds of thousands of products and optimize them. So if I see that there is one keyword that we can expand into more keywords that are related and expand those keywords then into how does that fit into a brand and a design profile or a taste profile, right? So there's all of that. And then how does that fit into a natural language search? So you're not just thinking about, so I'm trying to think now. So if I'm looking for a linen dress, for example, for a wedding, I need to make sure that that PDP or that collection page tells me all of that information right now. And we're saying that, yes, you might not have the resource to be able to invest, but the thing is you can do that and it's going to also benefit your SEO, isn't it? So if you're working on, so if you are optimizing for a linen dress suitable for a wedding, for example, you by doing that work, you'll be found on Google as well as through the AI agents. There's something that I'm building as well, which I'll talk a little bit later into a much easier way to do it. But the key thing is to think about product data and what you can do to communicate with the agents as best as possible.
And Molly, in your learnings, before we would jump into the next topic, what's the right balance? Because on the marketing side, right, my go-to is conversion rate, right? How is this people converting, right? And if I think about having all of the data possible in that PDP to show up on AI, sometimes I'm like, okay, so you can end up with these PDPs of endless content and scrolling. So based on your experience, right? Like, and then that's when I'm like, raise an eyebrow on my end. And I'm like, hey, okay, so this might be helpful for like your AI game and showing up on a ChatGPT or whatever. But what is the right balance between that and making that PDP conversion friendly? Do you have any input on that?
So obviously there's more that goes on behind the scenes rather than just the on-page content. So there is things you can do with the PDP just to make sure that it is user-friendly and it is good for conversion, but it also has those key phrases. So like, don't go overboard. Don't make it everything. You know, if it's not everything, don't make it everything. It's not going to convert at the end of the day, whether it's recommended to AI or if it's on your website, right? So I think how you can do it by going very, very niche is by having lots of different collections. And I think that's a really interesting way to approach it, rather than having lots of different information and categories on that one PDP.
Oh, interesting.
That's cool. I like that idea.
Yeah, so that's one way to do it. But then also behind the scenes, you've got all of your tags as well. So at the moment, obviously, like if it's being crawled, they'll be able to pick up those tags. So it's more than what is just on the PDP that we need to consider.
Okay.
Yeah, lots of layers, but we have a slide that Molly's going to talk to about that to
Let's
give
go
more.
for it.
Okay, so with all this change, there's still a lot that's still the same, and I just kind of want to name that as well because I know when there's change, it can feel quite overwhelming. But
Yeah.
obviously, like your brand is still so valuable and important. This is what makes you stand out. It helps you build trust, and trust in general is like even more important. And obviously, Molly and Cande named it, but paid media is still important. It's just the change that's happening is when people, like when you get narrowed down of like when people select you. And we just had our on-site a couple weeks ago, and we had Revo join, who's a partner of ours, and they focus on retention. And I just thought it was so interesting because I know a lot of brands talk about the struggle of selling on multiple channels and how to rebuild trust and loyalty. And they had a great case study about how one of their brands did this through some of their channels like Amazon and Target. So like, I just want to put it out there, and this is maybe a teaser for a future conversation, but there's a lot of different ways that you can understand how you're building trust with your clients and how to approach these things to show because obviously the numbers on the graph here show how much more people will pay more for your product, obviously buy more if they trust you. So like trust is just so valuable in this era of like AI, of like people questioning, like, is this real?
Yeah, or is the recommendation good enough, right? Like there's some still, like, where is this data coming from? Can I trust it? Is it reliable? Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so I just want to name that because we just mentioned it about SEO like being even more valuable. Like everything adds up that you add, and like even just helping educate people more about your product. Either way, it's going to help you be found more, and hopefully, well, the end result should be more conversions, to Candy's point, right?
Exactly. I think that's really interesting because if you have that shortlist given to you by AI and then you recognize a brand that you love, you're going to go to that brand, aren't you? So I think there is a lot to be said. Yes, the discovery might happen in AI, but what is the reason they've clicked? Is it because they've got some affinity to that brand?
Right. They heard about it before, they saw it on social, recommended by a friend. Yeah, I understand what you mean. Yeah, because AI is going to present you with options, right? But if you heard about one of these before, there's that trust build. Yeah, 100%.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think it will be interesting when we talk a little bit about the ChatGPT ads, because that's kind of like combining the trust that AI is recommending plus ads. It's like a big, question mark, I think, in everyone's mind. Just teasing that up too.
100%.
Yeah, so I don't know why it's a little bit stuck. Sorry, guys. But basically, in summary, we're seeing this consolidation. Molly's dream of going to her event, her black tie event, getting her dress. She just has to pick from 3 choices. It's so simple. Like a dream for some people, maybe not for others when they're shopping the experience, but like this is the reality. Your brand is now becoming a shortlist. So AI is the gatekeeper. It's narrowing down from thousands of brands across the globe. And if you're not in that top 3 to 5, you don't exist, right? This is the sad reality of what you're fighting against.
Basically, yeah.
Whew, deep breaths. And Molly mentioned it in her story from real brands that had given her data. The data is based on old theories of how people filter and search, right? And a lot of our messaging is buried in different places, maybe not as accessible for AI, or even across channels, like I was mentioning before. Data might not be consistent. And then it's all adding up, and you have to spend more on ads, and ads cost more than ever. And it's just like this vicious snowball effect of like too many things to have to deal with, but we have to deal with this because Miracle did a survey, and like 66% of people by the end of the year will start searching for new products through AI.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This number is shocking, but not,
Yeah.
It's a natural evolution, I think. We start with the conversations. How can it help me in work? How can it help in the personal life? And it is just a natural evolution to go to shopping, and it's going to happen. I picked it up quite quickly, AI, but there's a lot of people I work with that haven't yet. But like I was talking to my mum actually, and my mum's like such a tech phobe. No, I won't do it. But she plans a whole trip to Peru. Using ChatGPT.
Oh, good for her.
Exactly. So it just goes to show, you're starting those, then the shopping comes, and what can we do to make sure that we don't miss out? All of these retailers that could miss out and lose to the likes of Amazon, for example, we just need to make sure that we're doing everything that we can.
Absolutely. And I think there's also still this like pain point in some cases where, and obviously the tech is evolving tremendously, but where the results you get, in ChatGPT might just feel a little bit generic to some people, especially if you're a beginner user, to your point, Molly. Like AI learns from you constantly. So sometimes when you're starting off, it can feel generic, but also I think another piece of this is that data point, right? And I just kind of put this slide in here of your SOMI example that you already mentioned. So I don't think we have to kind of dig into it too much, but I think it just really shows this is the actual first step you took when you were trying to solve this problem, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we were using the tool that we built, so the platform that we built. We were searching, for example, for a long black dress for a gala, and you get so many rubbish results that just aren't relevant. Like black dresses, okay, great. There's thousands of black dresses, and it doesn't help me. It doesn't improve my experience at all. So we knew that we had to do something about that. And that's why we built SOMI essentially, to sort that. And we've managed to do that. We don't just shortlist to 3 results, we personalize. So we say, okay, Beth really, really likes Debenhams brand. The price point is typically £75. She's got an affinity with asymmetrical hems. She won't wear anything lace. We know all this information about you. ChatGPT, for example, doesn't collect that information yet, but I'm sure it will. So that's probably for another session. How does ChatGPT personalize results?
Right, it's gonna get to know.
Yeah.
That was gonna be my question. Like, how much of the generic results is the generic interaction coming from the user to ChatGPT? Because, like, talking about your mom, etc. Obviously, I have had AI experiences with my mom as well. So I'm like, I'm sure that the way that I search on ChatGPT for a black dress, because I have way more experience, like writing or interacting with ChatGPT as my mom. So how much of that generic kind of like results are based on the basic generic questions we're asking ChatGPT?
Is very basic and very generic at the moment, isn't it? But I do think it will evolve. And I think as soon as agentic takes off, there will be some sort of communications. Now, this is just a guess, right? Well, not a guess, an educated guess. There'll be agents on brand side communicating with the agents for ChatGPT, for example, and they'll be saying, we know this about this person. These are the products that they've shown interest in before. Feed that back to ChatGPT and show. That just seems like a logical next step to me.
Right, like the full kind of like feeding back.
Yeah, so like your shopping assistant, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there will be agents around that for sure.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, and then just like to show, like, and I know you mentioned this already, Molly, but like this is where people, like brands, need to start to think about how they're describing the products more. And I guess just to like dig a bit more into that, because I know you mentioned it in the beginning, like, is that considered like a product attribute, part of the description? Like, what is your best recommendation of like how to polish that more and give that visibility? Also, so it doesn't just feel like keywords stuffing and stuff like that. Like, what are you recommending for that?
Yeah, so I think on the PDP, it has to be a bit more top level. So, for example, good for the office, good for home working, good for brunch with the girls, that kind of thing. Making sure that you've got that information on there, but not keyword stuffing.
Yeah.
Now, that's why I say then that the collections can be really, really useful, because you can say what examples have we got here?
Right.
Power dressing, for example.
Right.
What kind of outfits will make me feel powerful and make me look powerful?
Yeah, I
You've
love
got a
that.
collection there, and then you can break that down further to like power suits, power jumpsuits, and then all of the natural language queries and questions that come under within that. How can I, so if you've got a collection on power dressing for suits, for example, how can I recommend me some shoes to go with this suit? To go with my look, then you can go further and deeper, and that is exactly what AI wants, because we are that deep and we are going into, like with these questions for ChatGPT, we're not just like we do on ASOS, for example. We go in and we dresses, filter, black,
Right.
filter,
You
by
might
brand.
yeah.
We are very, very specific, so we need to make sure that we're answering as many of those specific queries as possible, and that's an easy way to do that is through collection pages.
Interesting. I mean, maybe we don't know this yet, but like I'm also like it's making me think of, when a lot of websites have like dress, like if you like this, like here's the whole look, and like it shows,
Oh yeah.
which I love because I'm like, yeah, I love that look. Like I want to look like that. So like I don't want to think about it.
But it's also a problem. No, the Nike app does that very well. They give you a full look at the bottom of the PDP, and it's just very easy.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, like, is that something AI looks at or could be pushed? And maybe that's like a future phase of, the layers between AI and the brand, right? And that agent that can communicate.
At the app sales, then.
Exactly that. Yeah. And I think you'll have that personalization data. So you'll have all of that information. You can say that this user has previously shown interest in tube socks, for example. Perfect opportunity to push them with the Nike leggings.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's when ChatGPT starts playing with your AOV.
Yes.
but with like recommendations instead of like generic things in your mini cart,
Mm-hmm,
your point, Molly, like, oh, she bought this type of shoes before. Why don't you push for some of that with this dress?
Yes, totally.
Crazy. I feel it feels crazy, but at the same time, it's like
it's real.
Yeah, and time is money, right? Like if you can give me a solution at least for me, but I might not be the common denominator. I don't like to spend a lot of time shopping online.
Me neither.
To your point, Molly, like all of the filters of the traditional e-commerce shopping experience. I mean, if ChatGPT can really just give me an outfit based on my budget, I'm going to be so much happier.
Yeah.
For real.
We all will.
Yeah. Well, and I also think, like, because I just started doing Rent the Runway like in a couple months ago, and like, which is super fun. But one of the things like why I wanted to try it was to try different looks and see how it fit like when I actually got it home. So like I think that's the other like cool part to think about this is like how do you inspire people to like try different things? Maybe they always want the black dress, but like maybe there's a playful way to add in a splash of color or whatever it might be, right? So like helping people see and I know like when I was researching for this, like there's a lot of new ways that like even you can find a picture and it can help you find the product. So like intertwining all of these things is super interesting of helping people be inspired, and finding.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's that's naturally how it's going to go. So with SoMe, we've got a personalization style quiz. So when you onboard, you can go in, say your preferences, upload a selfie, we'll do your color analysis,
Oh,
and we'll recommend products as well based on that.
Nice.
So
That's
it's a
brilliant.
nice way to get that information.
Totally. And I think the other thing to think about here is when we're thinking about the data, or like the data you have, like to Candy's point, like where to start, will AI recommend your product, right? So it's, I don't know, Molly, if you want to comment on this, because you did share this image, but I think it just kind of helps bring this all together of why AI recommends things for particular people and the data it's consuming to do that, right?
Yeah, exactly. So your product data, it keeps coming back to product data, doesn't it? But
We just
we
keep
need
saying it.
exactly. So, and our product data is the one of the things that people hate, isn't it? Product data.
Yes.
So it comes back to product data, sadly. But what we need to be doing is essentially make sure that that product can be understood very easily. On a basic level, what is that product? Okay, that's on the most basic level. How suitable is that product for certain people?
Yeah.
How suitable is that product for a particular event that's coming up?
Yeah.
Then if you combine those two, how suitable is this product for somebody going to an event, right? For that specific person? How can you communicate that? And that's what the brand data needs to do, whether that's behind the scenes in tags, whether that is on the PDP in terms of like the FAQs. That's a really nice way to do it as well, by the way, is to have at the bottom of the PDP suitable for FAQs, and you can have like style advice in there. That's a lovely way to do it. And
nice.
Then feeding in the reviews. And they want to know, why is this product, if we're talking about shortlisting here, why is this product deserve to be featured in those 3 results?
Yes.
It's down to reviews, product quality, and then the suitability as well.
Yeah. Brilliant. And then just to like bring this whole kind of section about shortlisting full circle, obviously if you're, because we've seen it where some brands literally just have data from the manufacturer and it's like a sentence. Like worst case scenario, right? Like make sure you have proper descriptions that communicate what the product is, enhancing the categories you have, making those unique categories, like Molly mentioned, around different ways that you would shop. Like I love the idea of like feeling powerful, or I've seen other ones where it's like relaxing day, or like, like different experiences that you might dress differently for, I think is helpful for people. And obviously we're talking a lot about fashion. There's other ways we can translate this for other industries, but I think everyone understands fashion pretty easily. And just, test it. Like, I think, Cande, with Jasmine, like she sent kind of a note to you about this, like, oh, we're showing up like we weren't before. So like also just trying it yourself. If you are a brand, like what shows up when you search or you try different scenarios to see what's working and not. And then you can think about more strategically of how to improve your data, right?
Yeah, 100%. And it changes, right? Like
100%.
You show up and then you write the same kind of like query and you don't show up, and
it's like a nightmare.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a game, right? But yeah, these brands specifically, they sell hair extensions and hair extensions education, and yeah, we've been doing a lot of work from an SEO perspective, but also there's something to note from all of the brands that we have here at Shero that I met, like from a DTC perspective, they are ones of the top that, like, in terms of content creation, right? So I always know that they're probably going to have a pretty strong AI game, and they invest a lot on SEO as well. And a lot of things that you do for kind of like Google in terms of SEO also works for AI, right? Is my understanding of what we're seeing as well. But yeah, I think that content helps, because content, to your point, and some of the examples that you two have been giving, it's like contextualizing the product on how it's going to be used, right? And I think that has helped a lot in their case, because they're B2B to the stylist and B2C to the clients wearing their extensions. So there's a lot of output out there from a brand perspective. So yeah, no wonder we're like, when searching specifically so niche about hair extensions education, right? That is super niche. If you think about it in beauty and health, they're showing up big time.
Yeah. And I think we see it across the board too, like people that don't even expect to show up do, because they're doing a lot of the right things, right? And like,
well, we showed up for one of our clients that we closed in Q1, and we were very excited when we asked, how did you learn about Shero? And these clients said ChatGPT, and we were like, yay. So, I mean, we time on our website. Our co-founder, Gentian, he invested a lot of time on SEO, and we invest a lot of time of case studies. And to your point, Molly, that's content that we're putting out there all the time. So these little wins, at least, because it's, the return on investment in AI is, in my opinion, still yet hard to quantify, right? But when you have these little wins, it means a lot, right? Like, oh, okay, so all of the case studies and the effort that we've been putting internally, we closed the client. You know that they found us on ChatGPT. So I think it's good to have those little wins and like give you an idea that what you're doing is on the right track.
Yeah, and like with ChatGPT, the main resource that they use is the search engines. So if you've got good SEO, you'll likely have good recommendations and good presence in the AI as well.
Exactly.
What's interesting, as for retailers in particular, as it moves to protocols, then we'll see like the CSV or the direct connection through the protocols, for example. So that'll change then, and it'll come down to the product data in your product sheet.
Yes.
So that's something to think about as well.
Yeah. And I think, Cande, you kind of mentioned up front, like how much to invest. I think if I'm kind of just hearing everything in the room we're talking about, it's like, yes, making sure your content is up to date and like communicating the things it should for AI to recognize it. It takes time, right? But you can use AI to support that and move it along, like if you're smart about it, right? But like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you don't do that, the amount of money you spend on paid media is like going to be way higher, I feel like. And correct me if I'm wrong, Cande, because you're much, more in this world.
Yeah.
The margins like really start to compress, right? Like, so it's like, I think being very strategic with your time and like focusing on like those top products first are going to get you the biggest wins. Like,
I think my take on that is like, for the longest time up to kind of like the showing up of AI and on all of this, we've lived in the world of immediate ROI analysis from a marketing perspective. I'm investing $10. I need to get, if I want a ROAS of 2, I need to get 20 back. But AI now is kind of like the long marathon on the SEO game, right? When we pitch SEO, we explain that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. It takes time to see results. So I think that AI and showing up on ChatGPT and all that brings that logic back, right? You might not see your brand popping up immediately, but then to my point about our client at Shero, then you have that win and you're like, okay, so the time that I invested this past 6 months, like ramping up our case studies, making sure that there's a case study for every single launch, for every single thing that it all adds up. The problem is the change on the mindset, specifically the marketing people like me. When you need to see your ROI immediately, right? Because you need to constantly be justifying the marketing budget that you need, is a different game. It's a different game. It's the most relatable to the SEO game. Again, that is not a sprint, it's a marathon. You're going to see results, but not the next month. And we're not used to that. So it's a change of mindset. Right? We're going to get there. I'm sure we're going to get there because we're going to have to, get there because it's different rules and it's different timings. But I think that's kind of like maybe the transition that we're going to go through or been going through since 2025. Like the AI game is not as immediate as PPC, as an email that has an immediate open rate, click-through rate, and you know that you generated $20,000 in revenue, right? It's a different pace. So we just need to kind of like take a step back and understand that that's the game that we're playing.
Yeah, and I think I'm using past and like kind of more present in this slide, but to your point, depending on your goal and your strategy, you're going to have to evaluate where to invest more, right? However, I think if you don't invest at all in making sure your data is ready for AI,
right,
soon you're going to be left behind, right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are going to have a wake-up call and learn, to Molly's point, the hard way.
Yes.
And it's okay. And they're going to have to play catch up. I think that the people that, but again, it's all about the money that you have at your disposal. Do I put it now on a long game, marathon AI game, or do I invest it on PPC? Well, go on VPs of marketing. Maybe it's a 50-50, you're going to have to make those decisions of like, what are the channels that you should bet on immediate ROI? But in this game of like enhancing your content, etc., yes, it's more, again, the SEO pace is not going to be immediate, but in the long run, if you're investing now, maybe you're going to be ahead of your competitors in the near future.
Yeah, totally. Thank you for sharing that, Cande. I think it's so valuable and important because, I mean, these are like strategic conversations that you're having with our clients today, right? Like, these are things that need to be discussed and like decided. It's not like there's not like a silver bullet, I guess is what I'm saying, right? Like,
it's just starting. It's like back in the day when people were like, should I invest in Uber? What? A taxi that I'm not going to give cash to, or like raise my hand to stop. We're kind of like, maybe we're a little bit more ahead of that, but like we need to learn, we need to explain, and like there's a lot of new changes happening all the time, so we don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
I think also, there is a lot of uncertainty about whether it is a good investment, whether it's even going to take off to the extent we all say it will. So there's a lot of education hand-holding, I think, that needs to be done. But a big thing here is the fact that the tech is changing and the tech is evolving to facilitate AI discovery.
Right.
So you see the likes of Shopify, for example, you see Google building the protocols. This means that this shift is happening, and you don't want to miss out. You don't want to get left behind. And I feel we need to just follow the wave and do what we can to stay visible. And I do believe that those retailers that jump on this early will be the ones that go on to lead in results and discovery.
Yeah, I'm with you. Sometimes it's just like hard to justify when you're on like the agency perspective. But also on the brand perspective. I've been on the brand side for a long time. It's just like I'm thinking, how are those VP of marketing pitching to a board or a CEO or a SEO? CEO. Hey, I need X amount of dollars this year to invest on AI.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, show me the results. Well, not yet.
Yeah,
so, that's a game,
the chicken before the egg.
Yeah. They all want it, that's for sure.
Molly, I know you were talking multiple times about this, but like here, you gave me this visual, which I think is really helpful. Like, there's just so many pieces that are happening in the background. Do you want to talk a little bit about the infrastructures that are being built, that you're working with, and where you see gaps and challenges? I think that would be useful.
Yeah, of course. So we built a tool to help us, and we're essentially going to roll that out to retailers as well. So when we talk about this gap that I'll talk you through, we've got something that solves that, which is really exciting. So you've got your retailer sources. So you've got your product data. You could have Shopify, for example. You could have an independent e-commerce store. You've got all the product pages within that. Then you've got, so if we look over on the right, we've got the protocols. So we've got the UCP and then we've got the ACP. So that's how the products will eventually, for agentic shopping now, connect to the likes of ChatGPT and Google. Okay, and then that enables the AI shopping agentic to happen. Okay, so there's that gap then that we can see in the middle, and that gap is, how do you actually make sure your products can be found? Because it's all very well having the connection in place, but if your product data isn't set up to match those searches, then you're just not going to get discovered, and there's no point in really investing in AI shopping anyway. So we need to use product data. We need to enhance it for natural language. We've got a tool that does that, but you could do that manually as well. You could go through and do that yourself. I know that Shopify has the data side, but you have to go in and map it manually, which is a big job. So what we do is we take your product data, we enhance it, and then we just keep it updated. Every time you add a new collection, every time you add new products, it's updated. And that's how brands and retailers need to be thinking internally as well. So how can we keep our product data up to date so that AI, like the ChatGPT, Google, can rely on you and understand you and see you as a really good source. So you've got the sync, and then you've got, obviously there's translation that needs to happen as well between the different protocols. So you need to have a way to do that. Otherwise, it's an incredibly manual process, and you have to have lots of different systems. So there is this gap, and it's the messy gap, but it's the beautiful bit as well, where the magic can happen.
Yeah, I just think this is helpful because I feel like we talked about UCP last month. It was released in January. Shopify has a lot of updates around this and will continue to evolve that. And they sometimes make it seem like a magic wand, right? But to your point, there are things you still have to do, even though they're giving you the tools to be successful and show up in the right way, right? So it's just great to hear your experience with this and like where you're seeing the gaps and, just calling those out. So like when you're thinking about selling through ChatGPT, if you have a Shopify store, like what else do you need to think about, right? Like these are the gaps that we're talking about today. Yeah.
Exactly that. Yeah.
Amazing. And then, not to add any more layers to this, but we also have ChatGPT with ads. So, and Cande and I were like, we don't know a lot about this yet, right? It's very, very new. So, just kind of wanted to call it out because there is a lot of noise about it, but we don't really have a lot of facts yet. I don't know, Cande, do you want to?
Yeah, I mean,
flavor to that?
Yeah, maybe Molly knows more than me, actually. I mean, I'm just gathering information from the industry, right? They're testing with like a very few brands. It seems like it's gonna be like a pretty high price point, right? It's not.
Yes.
I don't know if that's their first approach, and then maybe they're gonna learn that that's not the approach to go to, because that probably is gonna narrow down how many brands they can work with. But so far, there's like talk about it being like pretty high cost, right, for high ticketing products. But I don't know, Molly, do you know any different apart from like the testing that they're running just with a few brands?
So yeah, it is just in testing. It's a lot of unknowns. It's funny really, because as soon as ChatGPT came out with doing online shopping, right, we'd already been in the background building SoMe, and we saw ChatGPT doing it, and initially I was like, this is really sad. This is really sad. They're going to compete with us. We don't think like that at all anymore. It'd be ridiculous too. But I said it's going to go very similar to Google. So you'll have your organic results, and then you will have your paid results. And everyone thought I was mad. No, you can't do that. The ads won't be. You won't be able to trust ChatGPT then, because essentially they're selling to you instead of being your support and that person, that agent, and that piece of tech that you can rely on, now you're being sold to. So I think it's quite interesting. There's two angles for me. Is that what do we think about recommendations that are being paid to be shown to you, as opposed to, are they definitely the right fit? So that would be my first hesitation with it. And my second thing that I actually see as a very interesting opportunity are these, if they can get it right, are these ads going to convert so much better than traditional PPC or meta ads? Because you've asked that question directly. It knows about you. It knows the kind of
About
things that
you,
you're
I
looking
think
for.
that's the main one. Yeah.
Yeah, no, a lot. Yeah.
And you'll get one result. I think it's one result they give you, isn't it? And they say that it's sponsored. And you
I
click on
have
that.
a screenshot here from their landing page, essentially.
Yeah, so I think that's really interesting. If they can nail it in terms of suitability and the personalization side, and it flows and it feels natural, then I think it's a really, really good opportunity.
Yeah, and it kind of also lends itself to leaning more into the agentic realm, maybe in some degree too, of like thinking about how that flow works. Because this example, they're talking about a potluck, and if this is the ad, it could have a button in the future that's like, just order everything I need, and it could just get all the ingredients for your potluck recipe, and ship it to you. Like, so it's interesting to think about the whole flow. But I agree. I think the experience has to feel right. Otherwise, people are going to feel taken advantage of.
Yeah.
In this
Well,
experience.
and a lot of people, that's why a lot of people are saying that it's not going to work because of that, like that you're taking advantage of. I don't know. I think that there's a reason why they haven't gone all in. And I think it's because they still are trying to figure out that service and how they're positioning it.
Mhm.
They're still trying to figure out, do we make it super exclusive? Do we make it like a free for all? I think that there's a reason why not everybody has access to ChatGPT ads yet. And I think it's because of that. I think that there's a lot of question marks.
Yeah, I'd love to see if they're going to do it from, you might know this already, whether they're going to do it from like a bid perspective. Because I just don't see how that will work. I think it needs to be based on, again, back to product data. How suitable is that product? Therefore, because it is so suitable, it's eligible to be sponsored and promoted.
Yeah.
That would be probably the most fair way of doing it, if we're talking about like fairness and not taking advantage of. But
so many questions.
yeah, there's so many questions. There's like everybody wants to, like I get clients all the time, like and we have kind of like a wait list, etc. But like it's still not like full funnel open, and I think it's because of this. I think that they're still trying to figure out how they bring this into the wider market.
Yeah. Well, the verdict is out to see, what happens next, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll be providing more updates as we learn, but I think it was just helpful to kind of like talk it out here, because these things all connect to how people are experiencing and shopping through AI, right? Like, it's all adding up. And then like, we've talked about shortlist, paid media. We've talked about the ChatGPT ads. And also like, obviously, it depends on your demographic of like where you invest and being strategic and building trust. But we definitely want to make sure we leave you with some action items. Like, this is a lot of information to take in. So what do you actually do? What are we going to do about this, guys? And I think we've talked about a lot of the things that we can do, but just to name it, brands that are winning are really thinking about the intent of how people use their products. How does that translate into data? How do we make sure it's consistent across channels, right? And does your content answer questions? I think is the thing you need to think through differently than just being like, let's put some keywords on it and call it a day, right? Like,
I would say real human questions, like, yes. Yes, 100%.
And then, there's definitely different levels of where brands are at. We're talking at like the very basic here about cleaning your data, but there's so much more that you could do after that. Cleaning your data is the kind of first scratching the surface, then thinking about more of that context with the structure and meaning, having real questions. Maybe it's like your personas, you develop them. What kind of questions do those people ask? Thinking through things like that, and making sure it's really conversational in the context, and then testing in different AI environments and learning what those different environments show as results, and leverage that knowledge and like revisit and evolve and constantly learn. So it's like there's a lot of layers to this, but I think it's all doable. It's all in everybody's hand. It's not like unaccessible, like you have control of it to some degree.
Agreed. Yeah.
Right. I mean, obviously there's a lot that you can't do, but you can influence your data. You can clean it up. You can be prepared. I don't know, Molly, you have the most experience with this. Do you have any other final thoughts on where you think a lot of brands are at, or, final suggestions on how to get started? Or
Yeah, so as I said, it comes back down to product data.
yeah,
I know from looking at retail data that products and brands just aren't ready for this change. And
right.
there's a lot of work that needs to be done. It doesn't have to be hard work, but it has to be well thought out and a good strategy. So like we talk about structured meaning, for example, like what can we do? So if we've got a home interior, somebody is looking for a boho inspired interior. You've got your main page there, your parent page, which is boho interiors. Then you've got things like boho living room. How does that go through? Then you've got your boho rugs. What kind of materials come into that? You've got to think of it like this. Boho rugs. Oh, what else goes with boho rugs? This is the kind of, like if you're looking for particular furniture, that can tie in quite nicely. So you need to have a real think about the structure of your site and your data, and how that all comes back down to how people actually search and how the AI agents can interpret your suitability and really understand everything about the brand, the collections, and the product.
Yeah, and not to add a curveball into this, but I think Cande named it earlier, that generational differences of how we search does impact it as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not the same. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think if you know your demographic, and also just planning to do the best you can with the resources you have, is better than doing nothing, right? Yeah, and then just to wrap up, we hope this demystifies a few things at least, or reassures you that like you have an understanding of what's going on. You need to make sure that you tackle this so that you don't get lost in that short list, and really make it so that people understand what you're selling. Keep building that trust, so that AI can easily recommend you, I think is the biggest way to think of it. Because like everyone's like, oh, AI is changing how e-commerce, and it's more of like, well, like flip that mindset and really think about like, what am I going to do different now to show up in this world that is happening, if you like it or not, right? Like, so those are kind of like my 2 cents to wrap it up. But Cande and Molly, I don't know if you have any final suggestions or thoughts to give our great guests that have joined us today.
I'll give you the microphone, Molly.
I'm just going to say the exact same thing, and it is make your product data understandable.
Yeah,
big letters.
Yeah, it just moves on from finding and to being understood, and I think that is just what we always need to keep coming back to.
Yeah,
Amazing.
definitely. I think it's not a matter of if, it's like when.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're gonna have to do it regardless. Catch up on everybody, so get ahead of the game.
Absolutely. Thank you, Cande. And Molly, if people want to get in touch with you or learn more about what you're doing, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, so they can follow me on LinkedIn. My name is Molly Sishton, Sishton. And you can go to, so if it's about the B2B tool, you can go to Cited by AI.
Amazing. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much, ladies. This conversation has been really helpful. I hope everybody walked away with something useful. And again, like a lot of things are staying the same. Stay true to your brand, build that trust, give great content, great experience, and the rest will follow. And then just to wrap up, just a couple of things around what's going on with Shero. So we have a Bloom Rage event. We're going to New York City to learn all the latest and greatest things with Bloom Rage coming up in March. And then we'll also be at Shop Talk. So we have a good sized team that's going to be at Shop Talk. I'm doing a fireside chat with Rebuy and lots of great events that we're hosting there. So if you're interested and want to meet up at Shop Talk, please feel free to reach out. Very excited to see everyone at that event in Vegas. And I hope you all have a great day. I'm Beth Shero. Always be learning.